Imagine a silent signal, a flicker on a screen deep within the vaulted servers of one of America's largest financial institutions, Bank of America. A change so subtle that it wasn't announced with a press release or a news conference, but one that has sent shockwaves through a dedicated community of investors who believe this quiet update is the precursor to a global financial event that will make them millionaires overnight. This is the core of the alert that's currently dominating discussions around the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong, the idea that major U.S. banks have quietly begun updating their internal systems with new, vastly higher exchange rates for these currencies, effectively signaling that the long-awaited revaluation, or RV, is not just a possibility but an imminent reality. Before we dive into the veracity of these claims, you need to understand the sheer, intoxicating power of this premise. It promises a fundamental rewriting of the rules of wealth, where a nominal investment of a few $100s in what is essentially exotic paper currency could transform into a life-changing fortune. A modern-day alchemy where patience is the only required element. This narrative has been cultivated and sustained for over 2 decades, creating a subculture of hope, speculation, and intense scrutiny over every whisper from the banking world. The recent rumors suggest that bank terminals, the ones tellers use for internal reference, have begun displaying numbers that are completely unhinged from the reality of the global foreign exchange market, numbers that would imply a value for the dinar and dong that is thousands of times higher than their current trading value. It's a thrilling thought, one that taps directly into our deepest financial fantasies, but it is absolutely critical that we now pause and subject this electrifying rumor to the unflinching lens of reality, because the world of high finance, especially the 7.5 trillion per day foreign exchange market, does not operate on whispers and silent updates. It operates on transparency, regulation, and monumental publicly verifiable economic shifts. The first and most crucial concept to grasp is the monumental difference between a currency revaluation and the reality of how these exotic currencies are traded. A true revaluation would be a historic seismic event initiated by a nation's central bank, fundamentally re-pegging its currency's value against a basket of other currencies or a standard like gold. This is not something that can be done in secret, nor is it something that would first appear on a Bank of America teller's screen. It would be preceded by years of economic reforms announced with great fanfare, and immediately trigger cataclysmic movements in global financial markets, appearing on every Bloomberg terminal, Reuters screen, and financial news channel on the planet within milliseconds. What is far more likely, and what consistently gets misinterpreted as a revaluation signal, are routine internal updates to a bank's proprietary buy and sell rates for physical currency notes. When you walk into a bank and ask to exchange, say, US dollars for Iraqi dinar, you are not getting the interbank market rate of approximately 1.310 IQD to $1. You are being sold that currency at a significant retail markup, a spread that represents the bank's profit and the cost and risk of handling an exotic, illiquid physical asset. Any update to an internal system could simply be an adjustment of this massive spread, a change in their own internal profit margin, not a change in the underlying value of the currency itself. Furthermore, banks constantly update their software systems for all kinds of operational reasons, adding new currency codes, adjusting compliance flags, or simply performing routine maintenance. To interpret these mundane IT workflows as secret signals of a global monetary reset is a profound and potentially costly misreading of basic banking operations. The very idea that the Central Bank of Iraq or the State Bank of Vietnam would allow a private foreign entity like Bank of America to be the first to announce, even covertly, the most significant economic decision in their nation's histories is not just illogical, it is a complete inversion of how sovereignty and monetary policy function. The silence from these central banks, the International Monetary Fund, and every other major global financial institution on this alleged event is in itself the most powerful evidence against it. The real story here isn't on a bank terminal, it's in the dangerous allure of a story that seems too good to be true. And as we will explore in the next segment, the entire ecosystem that has evolved to keep this alluring yet devastating fantasy alive. So if these bank alerts aren't secret signals, what are they, and why does this narrative persist with such relentless power? The answer lies in the sophisticated and self-perpetuating ecosystem that has grown around the dinar and dong speculation, an online economy that profits not from the revaluation itself, but from the perpetual hope of it. This ecosystem is fueled by a cast of characters often referred to as gurus, individuals who have built substantial platforms, paid membership sites, and personal brands by positioning themselves as insiders with access to clandestine intelligence. The pattern is meticulously crafted and almost always the same. It begins with an anonymous post on a dedicated forum or social media group, a user claiming a friend who is a banker saw a glitch, or a vague source in the Treasury whispered about a pending update. This initial spark, completely unverifiable and never accompanied by concrete evidence like a legitimate screenshot or official document, is then amplified. The gurus create YouTube videos with alarming and exciting titles, publish newsletters, and host live streams repackaging this baseless rumor as confidential intel. They deliberately use complex, fabricated financial jargon, weaving tales of global currency resets, the activation of the digital asset grid, and the fulfillment of international agreements, creating a tapestry of conspiracy that is intentionally difficult for the average person to follow, thereby lending it an air of exclusive secret knowledge. This latest Bank of America rumor is a textbook example of this cycle, designed to create a sense of urgent immediacy that drives engagement, clicks, and most importantly, revenue through ad shares, channel memberships, and paid subscription services. The real profit in this entire multi-million-dollar landscape is not being made in Baghdad or Hanoi. It's being made by the middlemen who sell you the physical currency at a massive markup over the actual exchange rate, and by these online personalities who sell you a dream that never materializes. They have a direct financial incentive to ensure the rumor mill never stops grinding, creating a new alert or intel drop every few months to reinvigorate their audience, attract new hopefuls, and open fresh revenue streams. This cycle creates a powerful psychological trap known as the sunk cost fallacy, where investors, having already spent money on the currency in years of their lives following the news, feel they cannot abandon their investment now because the big event is always just around the corner. To truly break free from this cycle, we must now turn our attention away from the rumors and toward the documented, verifiable economic realities and stated policies of Iraq and Vietnam, because their actual goals completely dismantle the RV fantasy. Starting with Iraq, the central bank of Iraq has been publicly working on a project for years, but it is crucially not a revaluation. It is a redenomination, a technical process of deleting zeros from the currency. This involves introducing new banknotes to replace old ones at a fixed ratio. For instance, 1 new dinar for every 1,000 old dinars. This does not change the value of the currency. It simply means you hold fewer pieces of paper for the same purchasing power, a move intended to simplify cash transactions and accounting in a country where carrying stacks of bills for simple purchases is the norm. This plan has been repeatedly delayed due to profound political instability, logistical nightmares, and concerns about public confusion, a confusion that the guru community actively exploits by deliberately conflating the terms redenomination and revaluation. Meanwhile, in Vietnam, the State Bank of Vietnam maintains a tightly controlled trading ban for the dong, and its focus is squarely on macroeconomic stability, controlling inflation, building formidable foreign reserves, and fostering sustainable export-driven growth. The dong's value is managed with extreme care to ensure Vietnamese exports remain competitive on the global stage. For Vietnam to suddenly and massively revalue its currency would be an act of economic self-sabotage of unimaginable scale, instantly rendering its key industries like textiles, electronics, and agriculture prohibitively expensive and collapsing its entire economic model. The governments of Iraq and Vietnam are focused on the arduous, complex work of nation building and economic development, not on engineering a speculative windfall for foreign currency collectors. The undeniable truth is that the entire revaluation narrative requires a suspension of not just financial logic, but also geopolitical sense, asking you to believe that these sovereign nations would willingly orchestrate their own economic collapse for the benefit of outsiders. This stark contrast between online fantasy and the ground reality leads us to the most important question of all: what should you, the seeker of genuine financial growth, do with this information? This brings us to the most critical crossroads you will face after consuming this information, the point where you decide what to do with the hope that has been cultivated and the reality that has now been presented. The continuous cycle of rumor, alert, and subsequent disappointment is more than just a financial trap. It is a psychological and emotional drain that ties up your capital, your mental energy, and your future in a speculative purgatory, always waiting for a tomorrow that never arrives. The true cost of this investment isn't just the money spent on the physical currency. It's the monumental opportunity cost, the gains you are missing out on by having your resources locked in a stagnant, non-productive asset. While that stack of Dinar notes sits in a safe deposit box, a portfolio built on proven income-generating principles could be compounded and growing, steadily building real tangible wealth. The foundational shift you must make is from a lottery-based mindset to an investor's mindset. Wealth is not created through a single, secretive, and unlikely event. It is built through the discipline, consistent application of time, tested financial strategies that have created millions of millionaires across the globe. This means moving away from betting on whispers and towards investing in the productive capacity of the world's greatest companies through low-cost, diversified index funds like those that track the S&P 500, which has a historical average annual return of around 10%. It means understanding the power of cash-flowing assets, such as dividend-paying stocks or real estate, which put money into your pocket regularly, unlike the Dinar, which only takes money out through the initial spread and ongoing storage. It means investing in the most valuable asset you will ever own yourself by expanding your skills, increasing your earning potential, and deepening your financial literacy so that you become immune to the seductive pull of get-rich-quick schemes. Consider the math with a clear head. If you had invested the few hundred or $1,000s you spent on exotic currency into a simple S&P 500 index fund a decade ago, that capital would have likely more than doubled through the relentless power of compound growth, a real gain backed by the ownership of slices of the most innovative companies on earth. This is the path of patience and discipline, a path that is far less glamorous than overnight millionaire stories, but is paved with actual results and secured by the fundamental growth of the global economy. The dream of financial freedom is a noble and achievable goal, but it must be pursued on a solid foundation of reality, not the shifting sands of speculation. Therefore, my direct and powerful call to action for you today is this: I am challenging you to break the cycle permanently. If you have been involved in the Dinar or Dong space, I want you to take one definitive, liberating step this week. Research one legitimate, long-term investment strategy. Open a brokerage account with a reputable firm if you don't have one. Commit to automatically investing just $50 or $100 a month into a broad market ETF like VO or VTI. That single small, real step will do more for your financial future than a warehouse full of hope-based currency. Secondly, I want you to become a force for clarity. Share this video with just one person you know who might be caught in this same speculative trap. Give them the perspective they need to see the situation for what it is. And finally, and most importantly, I want you to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. Our mission is to provide you with factual, data-driven financial education that empowers you to make intelligent decisions, to build resilient wealth through strategy and patience, and to arm you with the critical thinking skills necessary to see through the smoke and mirrors of any financial scheme forever. The real alert today is not about a hidden bank rate. It is a wake-up call to take sovereign control over your financial literacy and your destiny. The choice is now yours. Will you continue waiting for a miracle that violates every rule of economics? Or will you start building your future today with the tools that have proven themselves for generations? Make the choice to invest in reality. Click subscribe, and let's get started on building your real wealth right now.